Our Gallup Consumer Mood Index just continues to get better. We're now at a minus 57 for our overall index value. Now that's a minus, so when we net out ratings of the current economy and the direction of the economy, we still have more negative than positive Americans. But on a relative basis, that's a lot less negative than we've been seeing. A lot of the movement is coming in our question, is the U.S. economy getting better or getting worse? And look at the graph on this. We're now up to 37% of Americans who say the economy is getting better and 56% getting worse. Now again, that's more negative than positive, but just go back, for example, to late September, early October last fall. Only 9% of Americans said the economy was getting better, and 87 and 88 in that range said it was getting worse. So you can see how much an improvement we've had on that now compared to where we were. We're also seeing a more positive than negative value now on our standard of living index. This is actually a little more negative than last week, but still looking pretty good. 40% of Americans say that personally their standard of living is getting better, 37% getting worse, so that is a +3. Again, it was a little more in positive territory last week, but relatively speaking, this shows Americans are getting more positive about their overall standard of living. And for the first time in a while, we are seeing a little more optimistic readings from working Americans when we ask about what's happening at their workplace. The question, as you know, is your company hiring, firing, or staying about the same in terms of its employment picture? Last week, putting all our interviews together, it was about even between hiring and firing. 25% said hiring, 26% said firing, and that -1, when we net out the two, is as positive as we have seen on that index all year. We have to go back to December of last year before we saw workers being that positive. So are we beginning to see a little sign of the employment picture looking better at America's companies? Well, last week would certainly suggest that we may be. This is going to be a key for us to continue to monitor in the days and weeks ahead. Finally, consumer spending. Unfortunately, that's one where we just don't see much improvement at all on a big picture basis. Last week, the average American said they spent $61. That's up a few dollars from the week before, but on a long-term basis, that's still no real turnaround in spending. When we look at last year, we saw that about this time, going into May and then June, there was a real surge in spending. We think maybe that was related to end of school year, beginning of summer. So it's going to be a key time for us to monitor spending through May and see if we're going to see the same kind of uptick in spending, which is really one of the two key barometers of progress in the economy that we're really monitoring, that along with the jobs picture. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Editor-in-Chief of the Gallup Poll.